Hello, everyone. Chris Whitten here. Glad to be back with you. Yet again, after saying I was going to get caught up and stay caught up, I slipped up again. It's been pretty busy the last few weeks, just with your kind of typical everyday summer things going on, as well as just being busy playing a lot of music here lately. Today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about a particular organization. I was there for their Hall of Fame awards ceremony here in my hometown, actually. A couple of weeks ago, and that would be the Western Swing Music Society of the Southwest. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So for those of y'all who are not real familiar with Western Swing music, it kind of came about in the 1930s. It was just kind of the rural answer to the big band and jazz music that was popular at the times. Of course, most country folk were not horn players. They tended to more generally be fiddle players and guitar players and played stringed instruments, but didn't mean that they didn't appreciate and like swing and jazz music. I guess it was probably only natural at some point that somebody would come along and start playing more of a country or rural or back what they called in those days hillbilly version of all the popular jazz, swing, Tin Pan Alley, and so forth, all those songs that were popular at the time. And just so happened that fellow was a guy by the name of Bob Wills. He'd come out of Texas. Before he moved to Oklahoma, he actually worked with a band for Pappy Leo Daniel and the a flower company there in Dallas. They started a band called the Light Crust Doughboys that actually promoted the flower. They had a daily radio show. I think it was like a 15-minute show around lunchtime. Bob decided to go on to bigger and better things, and he left behind one of his collaborators, a guy by the name of Milton Brown, who later had a band called Milton Brown and his Musical Brownies. And unfortunately, Milton was killed in a car accident pretty early on. But Bob relocated a couple of times. He finally landed in Tulsa, Oklahoma at a place called Kane's Ballroom with a daily noon radio broadcast over KVOO radio there from Kane's. And they had quite a reach and quite a transmitter. You could hear them all the way out to the West Coast. And there were stories that during World War II that they got mail all the way from troops over in the South Pacific, Philippines, and places like that, who were actually able to pick up those noon broadcasts on the radio. Bob, along with his band, the Texas Playboys, they became one of the hottest sensations in the country. And, of course, in case you were wondering, as the organization grew and their popularity grew, Bob did add a horn section to the Texas Playboys. And they were just one of the hottest dance bands in America. Around the beginning of World War II, Bob moved the band out to California. They relocated out there. Of course, that was on the heels of the Depression. You had all the Okies who had traveled out to the West Coast trying to make a better life for themselves. And so it seemed only natural that Bob would end up out there. During his stay in California during that time, he did make, I believe it was 26 major motion pictures, Westerns, with people like Tom Mix and a number of the singing cowboys from that era. He was hugely successful, hugely popular, up until the mid-1950s. When rock and roll came along, it pretty much killed all types of swing music at that point. Bob scaled the band back. They tended to not carry a full horn section or nearly as many musicians as they had in their heyday. Now, even though rock and roll music really knocked a dent in Western swing there in the mid-1950s, when Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly, and all these guys came along, many of those guys did pay homage to Wills and his organization. And Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys were actually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the 1998 or 99, as I recall, for their influence on all of those early rock and roll stars and their influence on that genre. So as far as the Western Swing Music Society of the Southwest that I'm speaking of, I was kind of unaware a little bit of their whole organization, as it were. I didn't realize that it was started in part by some fellows from my hometown, a lot in Oklahoma, in 1998, just a couple of years before I moved to Austin. I just at that point in time, I was out traveling on the road so much, I guess somehow I just missed it along the way. I've been familiar with the organization, but as I said, I still did not realize that I had the hometown tied to that organization. So earlier in the year, while doing a gig with some fellow musicians, my friend Mr. Robbie Crow, as well as some pickers out of Fort Worth, such as Chuck Cusiamo, they were talking about that particular event. Said it was held in July every year, right after the 4th of July. That's that next weekend, and I was invited to be a part of it this year. It's a wonderful event. It goes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They have bands all day. They start 11 o'clock in the morning and go until 11 p.m. They have multiple meetings throughout the year in different areas, such as Wichita Falls, Texas, and Wagoner, Oklahoma, at a location, I forget exactly where, up in the Ozarks, up in Missouri. But we had a wonderful time. I played, I believe, 4 sets on Friday and 3 or 4 sets on Saturday. With different various people, and I ran into a number of old friends and folks that I have not seen in a while. They were honoring, had 3 inductees this year, all of whom I was familiar with, one of them being Mr. Andy Reese. Andy is a Nashville session guitar player and highly noted and regarded jazz guitar player. And he's also known for playing with the Western Swing band that consists of Nashville First Call musicians called the Time Jumpers. They became popular playing Monday and Tuesday nights there in town, there in Nashville, regular gig. Eventually, Vince Gill was in the band with them. He played guitar and sang a little bit, and eventually they did go ahead and record an album, got some nods from the Grammys, and took the show out on the road. They've done a few road dates here and there. Actually, the last time I saw the band or hung out with them as a whole was in Houston about 7 or 8 years ago. So Andy was inducted, as well as a drummer that I'm familiar with for many years down in the Houston area, Miss Dixie Hankin. She's an incredible drummer. I've worked with her on a number of just one-off gigs here and there with various people. And very few people I've ever seen could lay down a good, solid country shuffle quite the way Dixie can. And then it's always a pleasure to walk on stage with her back there on the skins behind me. Additionally, another Houston musician that I've worked many gigs with was honored this year. A great steel guitar player, a fellow by the name of Jody Cameron, was inducted. And lastly, a fiddle player that I first met when he was working with Charlie Pride a number of years ago, a guy from the Dallas-Fort Worth area by the name of Reggie Roofer. He was likewise inducted, and I did get to play a set with Reggie, and that was a lot of fun, doing some twin fiddles with him. He is an incredible player, incredible jazz player, and funny guy, great to hang out with and visit with. In addition to that, we also, of course, had fellow that I have not seen in quite a few years. I'd known him since I was a kid, a guy by the name of Joe Settlemeyer. And to the best of my knowledge, I believe he's probably one of the last people alive who actually was on the payroll working for Bob Wills as a young man back in the 1960s, I believe. He later worked with Willie Nelson and a number of other people. He's recorded with, I believe, with Reba and quite a few people. And speaking of Reba, doubling back, Andy Reese also, he actually went on the road and worked for her for a few years after her band was tragically killed in a plane crash in 1990 or 91, I believe it was. Just excellent guitar players. And lastly, I wanted to tell a quick little story. I remember as a young man, I was introduced to a guy by the name of Charlie Archer. And Charlie was Conway Twitty's guitar player pretty much throughout Conway's entire career. He was from the Oklahoma City area, this general area. And I'd met Charlie through the Oklahoma Country Music Association and my old friend Bob Wood back in the late 90s. That Charlie was trying to sell his house there in Nashville and moved back to the Oklahoma City area at that time. And he came out and actually backed me up playing guitar on some fiddle tunes and stuff like that a few times. And we kept talking. And at the same time, when I was in school, in junior high and high school, particularly junior high, in Lawton, Oklahoma, there was the school psychologist had his office there in the building, and a fellow by the name of Ted Archer. Of course, I did not put 2 and 2 together with that. I had never spoke to Dr. Archer at that point. Occasionally, I would pass him in the hall carrying my little San Antonio Rose Bob Wills book and my fiddle case, and he'd give me an aha, San Antonio Rose. And at the time, I thought it was really strange. He just didn't strike me as the type of person I thought would be a Bob Wills fan. Later on, we were going to be playing at the Oklahoma State Fiddlers meet, and Charlie was going to back me up, accompany me, on guitar for that gig. And the week before we played together, and he said, we were talking about the gig, and he goes, it ought to be a lot of fun. Next week my brother's coming out. He's a fiddle player, and he had played with Bob Wills as a young man in the 1960s. So I still didn't put it together. The following week, I showed up. We're loading in. I'm standing there talking to Charlie, and the door opened, and I couldn't believe it when Dr. Archer walked through the door with a cowboy hat on, carrying a fiddle case. And sure enough, our school psychologist and a guy I saw pretty much every day at school walking around the halls was a Texas Playboy as well. But Charlie was a great guy, he and Ted both. Charlie, after Conway had passed away, Charlie actually played steel guitar with Loretta Lynn for quite a few years up until her passing as well, and to the end of her career. So it was really wonderful to reconnect with all these folks, and I'm going to go. I have a little bit of video I shot. I have yet to get any video of me on stage. Of course, obviously, it's kind of hard to film yourself while you're on stage, so it's always can be a challenge to try to track down video and clips and stuff like that. And of course, I don't want to steal other people's stuff and all of that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and hopefully you've enjoyed this story. And I highly recommend if you have an interest in Western swing music, I really recommend that you go ahead and get on maybe on Facebook. They do have a page on there for the Western Swing Music Society of the Southwest. Go ahead and check them out, and if you get a chance, come to one of those meets and get-togethers. It's a great 3 days, great fun for everyone. Lots of wonderful music. They have jam rooms available, so you can come and be sure to bring your instrument, come and pick and jam and just have a good time, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of bands, a lot of wonderful music. That'll do it for today. I, of course, want to thank you all for your patience and for actually watching these videos and liking, subscribing, sharing, all those wonderful things. And if you haven't, please do that. You know how this works. You can push that little subscribe button down there and hit that little bell icon, and you will be notified anytime I upload new content. So you can get back on here and watch the new videos and, of course, like those videos as well. At least I hope so. I love hearing from everybody. I love hearing from the comments. And as always, if you need some fiddle or mandolin tracks recorded, please let me know. You can shoot them over to me. I'm set up here to record, and I would love to work with you on that, see what kind of magic we can make happen. And I also do lessons. If you're interested in violin or fiddle lessons, please let me know. So once again, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, a wonderful week. Stay cool, and keep on picking.